with you, but it's really the side effects of American imperialism and the cultural force to be present in all of our respective countries. So, y'all saw that. Here's my issue. It's the same thing that I said on the last video when talking about Palestine, when that lady was sitting there talking about how there were some black people that helped volunteer and they were sitting there making it about them because even though they are black, they are also Americans and there was oppression Olympics and da 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 da. Here's what I found, right? And I'm glad that I was ignorant for so long, which is such an odd thing to say. But now I'm not as ignorant to it. Now we have the internet. Now I have seen other people's opinions. As much as I do not like the military, because I don't, a lot of Americans don't like the military. There's even veterans that have critiqued the military and critiqued other branches of, the government and all the other types of things that were going on and how they were going to other places, using people from this country. Then when they come back home, not treating them right, not getting them benefits, is a whole thing. But my biggest issue, right, is that even though I do not agree with the things that the military has done, as an American, I do think that, they have no excuse not to keep that on lock. They have to make sure that they maintain the upper hand in terms of weaponry, the upper hand in terms of certain aspects of government, because the amount of anti-American sentiments while also coming to America, while also getting jobs in America, while also sitting there being around Americans, and then you sitting there getting online and talking about how much you hate America. Like, I was at first going to be like, you know what? Those people that were sitting there saying, that these immigrants need to get out, that's not right. Everybody deserves to hustle. Everybody deserves to get a better life. But when you have people coming in and they say, you can't blame me for hating you guys. I'm just trying to get a good life. You can't blame me. And then a good amount of these people that are also perpetuating these ideas are not just minorities in America. Believe it or not, black people are minorities in America. It is not just black people that are going around sitting there being patriotic, sitting there going around acting like they're victims, sitting there going around sitting there saying they do not care about certain people in other countries. I'm not saying that black people are not taking part in that, but I'm just saying black people are not at the forefront of that particular type of thing. White Americans and other people of color have also been saying these things about other people in other countries and saying they do not care about other people in other countries. Hispanics alone have had this whole thing happen with Trump, where they were literally voting against their own safety, voting against other people's safety. And we say all this time in black communities, oh, other people can support themselves, other communities and other races and other cultures can support their people and they can do what they people. And we still see how there was plenty of people who were happy to be Americana, and they decided to sit there and say F you Hispanics until it bit them in the ass. And so there's plenty of people here that are willing to fuck each other over to be able to get to a better position. Universal health care, even after Luigi, we're having debates about it. School shootings, we're having debates about gun rights. Nobody's sitting there. We had people who experienced the school shootings, and there was still a whole group of people, cough, cough, conservatives, that were sitting there saying thoughts and prayers. I'm not saying it's right. However, the Constitution says that I deserve the rights to have guns. Okay. We had the Capitol riots. If it was a whole bunch of black people, they would have shot us. Just being honest, we had the Capitol riots. We've had so many other different things. The issue that happened with Columbia University, they were sitting there going against Columbia for what they were sitting there doing and aiding in terms of how it was affecting people in Gaza, and in terms of how it was affecting the Palestinians. And you had the conservatives, you had them go against these people and these students and saying they deserve to lose their degree. They deserve to lose their rights because they took it too far and they didn't make the protest uniform enough. And even if they were peaceful and they were all on one accord and they were all intellectuals and they all knew the nitty-gritty and the intricacies of the different types of politics that was happening between America and Gaza, they still deserve to lose their degree because they were still disrupting the peace and they were still not acting like the right kind of American. So we have all of these different dynamics that are happening within the country, right? Where you have a whole type of history that black Americans have gone through. You have a whole type of history that Asian Americans have gone through. Hispanic Americans, indigenous Americans, or really, they really the Americans. But we have a whole history. And yet, when talking about this, when discussing this topic, you see all of the other people and how they blame the American people for the things that the government has done. I said I wasn't going to vote. Guess what I did? I said, you know what? I went with my parents and I voted for Kamala Harris. Who won? Trump! Trump won. Trump won. So what am I supposed to do as a liberal, as a Democrat? What am I supposed to do? How am I as an individual, or maybe even other like-minded individuals, are supposed to sit there and help? Are we all supposed to, I'm broke, baby. We all supposed to sit there and go and help and kiki? It gets to a certain point where just as much as we do not know about your issues and the nitty-gritty about your issues, that is valid, you don't know shit about what the fuck is going on in America. The only thing you guys have, the only point of reference is pop culture. Hollywood is a billion-dollar industry that has pushed everybody else's stuff, everybody else's culture, and everybody else, especially Black Americans, out into the forefront, out into the stratosphere. So everybody acts like they know so much about us because you looked at Love and Basketball and you grew up looking at Friday and the hip hop and Don't Stop and bop, bop. But no, you don't know. You don't know. And so at the end of the day, maybe we need to have a better exchange, a conversation. Maybe we need to have a better, instead of yelling, I'm going to sit there and take accountability myself. Maybe we need to have a better exchange of words, right? A better point of reference in terms of how we're going to do the verbiage in order for us to actually understand what's going on with each other. Because at this point, you're not going to get Americans as a whole to care about what's going on in your country if you're going to sit there and say we don't like you hoes. And you especially are not going to get a minority in the country that is being blamed. And there's so many other people, especially Africans, who have said we are jealous of this minority because they have everything handed to them and we actually have to work for what we have. And they treat us as if my ancestors were immigrants here and they just came here when the people were sold here. That's a whole different kind of history. We didn't come to Europe. We didn't on our own accord. And so it gets to a certain point when having these debates, having seen this as an American, as a self-proclaimed black American, I get to a certain point where I'm just like, okay, I'm not saying it's right what's happening. I'm not saying it's right what's happening in the Congo, but sitting there yelling at me with the microphone in your hand, how dare you have an iPhone? The people in the Congo. And it's like, baby, there's so much that's going on in the infrastructures above me that what do you expect me to do? Especially everybody else in here who has phones. What's going on?